They called him the King of Grace, a ruler whose court shimmered with gold, music, and endless celebration. But beneath the glittering chandeliers and silk gowns hid something darker, something no one dared speak of aloud. The music that filled his palace wasn't always joyful. Sometimes it became a weapon, and when the king commanded the dance, no one stopped. This is the story of a ruler whose obsession with control turned beauty into suffering. A story whispered in the shadows of French history of the king who forced his servants to dance until they could dance no more. Our story takes us back to 16th century France, during the uneasy reign of King Charles IX. Born into chaos and superstition, Charles grew up in a world where loyalty was measured by fear. His mother, Catherine de' Medici, was one of Europe's most powerful and calculating figures, a woman whose influence reached from the throne to the church. She taught her son that power was not inherited, it was performed. The French court became a stage. Every noble, every servant, every musician, an actor in the king's grand illusion of harmony. But beneath that illusion, unrest simmered. The wars of religion had torn the nation apart. Executions, betrayals, and purges filled the land. So Charles turned to something he could control: the art of court entertainment. He ordered lavish balls and masquerades that lasted 4 nights on end. The royal halls shimmered with candlelight, golden cups overflowing with wine. Yet what began as celebration soon revealed the king's strange obsession. He demanded his servants and courtiers to dance without pause. At first, it was a test of devotion, the king's amusement, but gradually it became an unspoken rule. No one left the floor before the king did. Musicians were ordered to play relentlessly. Those who slowed were told to keep moving. "Grace," the king once said, "is not a gift of birth. It is earned through endurance." One evening, a grand ball was held to honor a visiting noble. The room was filled with laughter and string music. Yet as hours turned into dawn, the dancers began to falter. Sweat poured from their faces, their silks darkened, and exhaustion set in. But the king, seated upon his high throne, only smiled. He raised his hand, and the music continued. Eyewitnesses would later recall how some collapsed quietly, how others pushed through their pain just to please their ruler. The musicians, trembling, played until their fingers cramped, and when the last note finally faded, the king's laughter echoed through the silent hall. Soon after, reports of a strange dancing sickness began to surface in Strasbourg, spreading rapidly. People, farmers, bakers, even mothers, were seen swaying and spinning uncontrollably in the streets. They could not stop, not even to eat or rest. Chroniclers wrote of 100 people moving to invisible music, day and night. The church declared it a curse. Physicians called it a fever of the spirit. But among the king's court, whispers spread that the curse had been born within the palace itself, that the king's endless feasts, his forced dances, had called forth something dark. One royal physician, in his journal, recorded an event never shared publicly. He wrote of a night when the king demanded his attendants perform a dance of grace in his honor. The rhythm grew faster, the candles burned lower, and one by one, the dancers stumbled, their breaths shallow, their faces pale. The physician begged the king to stop. Charles only replied, "If they truly serve me, they will find beauty in their pain." When dawn arrived, the hall was silent. The king dismissed the servants who could still stand. Those who could not were quietly carried away. Their names were never spoken again. Outside the court, the madness continued. The dancing plague of 1518, as it became known, baffled scholars for centuries. Some blamed ergot poisoning, a hallucinogenic fungus found in bread. Others believed it was mass hysteria born from hunger, fear, and grief. But the stories from the royal court suggest something deeper, the shared trauma that spread from those who danced under the king's command. Years later, King Charles IX began suffering strange fits and violent nightmares. He would wake at night screaming, claiming he could still hear the music. "They're still dancing," he once muttered, before collapsing into silence. By the age of 23, the young king was dead, consumed by paranoia, guilt, and the ghosts of those who once danced for his pleasure. And though history remembers him as a monarch trapped in his mother's shadow, his court became a legend, a symbol of how the thirst for control can turn joy into torment. Centuries later, historians still debate what really happened. Was it madness, poison, or the echo of a ruler's cruelty that spread beyond his palace walls? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere between, in the quiet rhythm of fear and obedience that defined an era. The music may have stopped long ago, but the echoes of that dance still haunt history.